Hello, 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 hello. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our March Hangout. I think we're supposed to have one last month, but network got the best of us. But I am so glad that we are here again today and this month. Welcome, everybody. I'm just going to give some minutes or some seconds really, for everyone to come on live. Um, it's going to be an amazing session, and I absolutely cannot wait for you to partake of it. So you are quiet. Brace up. You are going to be learning so much, and it's going to be amazing. Really awesome. So get set and let's go. Let's go. Call your friend, tag your friend, um, send them a message, let them know that we are live and we are set to do really amazing things today. I'm particularly excited because you get to learn all about how to make certain decisions that will propel your next level, the decisions that will propel your next level. And I'm quite excited about that. So hit me up in the chat and let me know where you're joining me from. You're joining me from Abuja, you're joining me from Lagos. Let me know in the chat. I want to know, I want to connect with you. Let me know where you are joining me from. And if you can hear me audibly, if you can hear me clearly, let me know that as well. Okay, today I just want to make sure that everything is perfect for this hangout because, ladies and gentlemen, you are about to experience an amazing next level that you've not seen in a while. Yeah, so get set. I don't think we've gone live in a while, so today is quite exciting for me. Since I can't find it. Well, wonderful. So let's go. Intentional decisions towards living your best life. Intentional decisions towards living your best life. Intentional decisions. This month is our month of intentionality, right? And according to the dictionary, intentional is defined as something that is done on purpose or deliberate. Something that is done on purpose or deliberate. But there's a definition that I saw that really blew my mind, and that definition states that intentional or is being in a mental state where you commit yourself to a course of action. You see, you commit yourself to a course of action. So you have a course of action, you have something that you're doing, you want to do, and you're committed to it. And that's intentionality. So you're not just doing things carelessly, you're not just trying to fill up gaps, but you're being conscious and conscientious about what you're trying to achieve. So the question of how deliberate are you when you are making a decision? How conscious are you when you're making a decision? And every day, life is full of choices. Life is consistently full of choices. So every day that you wake up, please, can you hear me, you guys? Can you guys hear me? I just want to make sure that you can hear me. Okay. All right. Thank you for the feedback. So, whenever you show up, every time that you come into your life, you're constantly taking steps, you're constantly making moves, you're constantly making decisions, and your decisions have consequences. Every decision you make has a corresponding consequence, whether good or bad. So, for example, if I decide that I'm going to be reading 2 books monthly, that decision that I made is going to have a corresponding consequence consistently, for me to be able to know that, okay, I'm not just taking a step, I'm not just doing something, but I'm constantly making a line of action. I'm constantly doing something. I'm constantly making a move that is going to have a relegating consequence. I'm constantly not just doing something for the fun of it, but I'm consciously with an intention of what is going to be done. So when we talk about a decision talks about a conclusion or a resolution reached after consideration. So when I make considerations, right, I come to a conclusion. And that conclusion that I come to is a decision. That resolution that I've made after consideration, after taking steps, that's a decision. And my decision has consequences, like I told you before. So every day we're making choices. Every day, every single day of our lives, we're constantly making choices. So, choices, whether good or bad, will have consequences. Choices, whether good or bad. So, if I decide, for example, to eat at 12 midnight every day, on the first day, it may feel like I didn't make such a decision. But by the third month of making that decision, my body will show that such a decision was made. So you have to realize that it's not just black and white, it's not just things that, oh, the effects may not come immediately, the consequences may not come immediately, but they will definitely come. The consequences of your actions may not happen immediately, but you will definitely see it. You understand? So, what decisions are you making towards living your best life? One of the first things that you need to take into consideration is defining your best life. Defining your best life. What is your best life? What is your best life? That's the first thing that you're going to ask yourself. So my best life could be that I am wanting to work towards becoming the best mindset coach in the world. I'm working towards becoming the richest entrepreneur in Africa by having, so I have to define it. What does my best life look like? Miles Monroe said something. He said that when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. Another author, who I can't remember his name, says that if you're not able to define your expectations, when you arrive your destination, it will look like you are not there yet. So for me to be able to get to certain points in my life and know that, okay, this is what I'm trying to achieve and I have achieved it, because it's not just wanting to, right? It's not just trying to live on wishes. Oh, I want to. Oh, I want to. When I actually get there, I need to be able to know that I've gotten there. For example, if you said you were coming to my house, right? And then you got to the junction of my street, and then tell me, um, sorry about that. If you got to the junction and you tell me that you've arrived, but I open my door and I don't see you, have you actually arrived? So we need to be able to know that I've sincerely arrived my destination. This is my destination. I've gotten here. So you need to know you have gotten to your destination. You've gotten to where you need to be. You need to tell yourself that. You need to work towards that. So It needs to be clearly stated for you that I've arrived to my destination, I've arrived where I'm going to. It needs to be clear to you. The second thing that you need to do after you define what your best life looks like, you need to define what your intentional life looks like. And I'm going to help you break down your intentional life. Your intentional life is about making small, conscious, daily decisions about what enhances your life and what just clutters, distracts, and pulls you down. So, if I say that I'm living my intentional life, what I'm saying is I'm constantly evaluating my life. What is enhancing my life and what is dragging me back? So, for example, I talked about eating at midnight, and I said if I consistently eat at midnight, the first night may not have an effect, the second night may not have too much of an effect, but in 3 months, my body would be able to tell me that that decision was not a good decision. In the same way, I can now see that based on the outcome, based on the consequence, my decision has a consequence. So, in the same way, if I decide I'm going to read one book weekly and I watch my life for 3 months, one book weekly, that's 12 books, right? When I decide, okay, I'm going to read 12 books in a month or in 3 months, rather, I'm reading 12 books. By the fifth month, or by the third month rather, I'm going to realize that that decision has a consequence that will be shown from my language, that will be shown from my mannerisms, that will be seen from my conversations. So consequences are not just, they may not reflect immediately, but you can constantly see that something has changed, something has shifted, something is not what it used to be. So I'm moving from this place of intentionality. Whether I'm seeing the results or not, I know that it is a matter of time for these results to begin to reflect, for these results to begin to show. Do you understand me? So constantly, so first define your best life, then define your intentional decisions. Because from knowing what your intentional decisions are, you can now begin to set goals or what your intentional life looks like. You can now begin to set goals. You can now begin to have plans. You now can now begin to map out, okay, this is what I need to do. This is how I need to do it. This is where I need to be. This is where I need to. Do you understand? You're constantly surrounded by those choices. And you must realize that living intentionally is not just a trend, it's that ability for you to find a balance around your life, and then to take time for yourself and avoid stressors that can set you off. So, when you're living your intentional life, or when you want to live your intentional life, one of the things that you do is to think about your actions and see how they will affect your well being and the well being of others around you. So you have to ask yourself, this thing I'm trying to do, how does it affect me? How does it affect others? Now, it is selfishness for you to think about yourself and not think about the consequences of others, especially those that are of the closest reach to you. On the other hand, it is foolishness to think about others without considerations for yourself. So you must have both when you are thinking about living intentionally. You must think about others on one hand, and you must think about yourself on this other hand. So you must have both put together. You must be able to look at both sides of the coin to say, okay, this works, this does not work. This is a workable factor. This is not a workable factor. This is something that I can achieve, something that I can work towards, and this is something that is an absolute no-no for me. So you must define it. You must define it. Define what living intentionally looks like for you. So, some of the questions that you want to answer towards living intentionally is think about what area do you want to tackle first. Now, the thing about living intentionally is if you try to change everything at once, you're going to get overwhelmed and you're not going to be able to follow through. So choose, I always tell people, choose three areas in an order of priority that you want to work towards first. So list out every area of your life: your mental health or your mentality, your emotions, your relationships. List it all: your communication, your productivity, your visioning, your entrepreneurship, your career, all of that. List it out, then put them in an order of priority. Now, this is towards intentional living now that I'm talking to you about. So, number one, list out the areas that need to be worked on. Number two, arrange them in an order of priority. So, for example, I could say communication is the top of mind. For example, secondly, relationships. Being able to manage relationships across board can be the second for me. Third, my finances. Things like that. I'm able to put it in an order of expectation, an order, right? So, what area do I want to tackle first? Then, number two, why am I doing it? Why is this a priority? You must clearly state out your whys from the start. You cannot afford to go into these things assuming your whys. So you be clear about your whys from the beginning, right? Be clear about your whys. Be clear about, why am I doing this? What is my why? What am I trying to achieve by doing this? So be clear about it. Don't be lackadaisical or complacent about it. What is your why? Now, number three is your what. This thing I'm trying to do, what exactly am I trying to do about it? So, if I want to work on communication, what is it about communication? What? So, know your why, then know your what. So, first, you know your who. So, who am I working on? Right? Who are the things, or what are the things that I'm working on? Secondly, why do I want to work on these things? Why is it necessary for me to be able to have good communication skills? Why is it necessary for me to understand how to manage relationships? Why? And then number three is, what am I trying to achieve? What's my end goal? What's my destination? Why am I going to through all of this? So I want to become an excellent communicator, to be able to stand in different conversations and be able to adequately communicate and express myself across board without any assumption. You see, it's clear what I'm trying to do. It's clear to myself, it's clear to whoever I'm talking to, so that even if I decide I want to get a coach for this, when my coach asks me, what are you trying to achieve? I'm able to communicate eloquently to my coach and say, listen, this is what I'm trying to do. Because many of us are spending money on coaching, many of us are spending money for courses that we don't need. When what we need, what is really a deficiency, is there and it's not being attended to because we're not able to accurately articulate it. So if I say to myself, I need to work on communication, and I come in contact with a communications expert, if I tell the communications expert I need to be able to express myself across different platforms, it gives them something to work with. I'm able to adequately say to them, I've been able to stand on this platform, stand on this platform, stand on this platform. However, I feel the need to be able to work on these platforms as well. So how do I get there? You see, I get the needed help that I need to arrive my destination. And when I'm able to answer that question, I now ask myself, what? Sorry, how. So I start with who, then I answer why, then I answer what, and then finally I'm able to answer how. No, not finally. Fourthly, I'm able to answer how. How am I going to do this? How am I going to achieve this? So number one, I get a coach. Number two, I volunteer to speak on platforms to enable my communication skills and to evaluate my communication skills on different platforms. Number three, I can read books around communication, cues, body language, reading. Do you understand? By the time I now begin to look at these various different ways, so these are the things that I said I will do. I will read books, I will get a coach, I will volunteer to speak on platforms. This volunteering means that even if I'm not paid, I see it as an internship experience. So I see this opportunity as a learning experience. When I'm able to answer my how, I can now create a blueprint on how to get there. If you're not able to clearly articulate your how towards living your intentional life, you're not going to be able to articulate how to get there. So know your how. And then number five, which I believe is the most important, and we really don't pay attention to this as individuals, is your what next. You see, it's one thing to answer your how question, but your what next is very important. Why is this important? Many of us have achieved goals, but then we become stuck in our goals because our entire life was surrounded and lived for the goal, and there was no room to prepare for the future. So everything I did, every decision I made, every step I made, everything I did was towards achieving a goal. Now, I've achieved the goal. I've gotten to this place. What do I do next? There is no plan. There is no room for it. And because there's nothing to look forward to, there's no plan for it, it now makes it impossible for me to move forward. I don't know if you get me. It makes it impossible for me. So all of a sudden, I'm stuck in my high. And some of us in this room right now that are listening to me, you're stuck in your high. You're stuck in your last big accomplishment. You've not been able to move past it because there was never room for what next. You're stuck in the last big thing that you did because you never thought about life after that. You know, I have people who get married and then they get married and they're like, so what? What next? After the wedding, what next? We're living together. What next? How does my life continue from here? Do I go back to living the way I used to live as a single person? Or what's next? We need to make allowances. We need to make room for what next. We need to begin to ask ourselves questions of, when I achieve this thing, what other thing will I do? Because when the moment you stop looking forward to, you give yourself permission to die in complacency. So if I'm working on communications right now and I'm going to give myself 6 months to work on it intentionally, after that 6 months, I need to have a plan of when next. So this is how I'm going to put it. Please, just to make sure that you can hear me and you're following me, can you just type something in the chat, comment in the chat, let me know that you're following, because I know that network is not the greatest. Type in the chat, let me know that you're following. All right. So you have to learn the lessons from your past. Learn lessons from your past. So your past is for lessons. You cannot change your past. You cannot, as terrible as it sounds, you cannot change your past. You cannot do anything about your past. There's nothing you can do. Your past has happened, it has happened. The best you can do is to learn lessons from your past. So your past is for lessons, your present is for decisions. So in your present, in your today, you've got to realize that every step that you're taking is a decision towards tomorrow. So if I'm saying I'm working on communications, every step that I'm taking now is towards tomorrow. And tomorrow, which is the future, is for living with your present. So I'm living with the decisions I've made today, tomorrow. I can't change it. So I hear people say things like, especially in Nigerian movies, I want to turn back the hands of time. You can't, right? You can't. You can't go back and redo it. You can't just go back and change things. But you can learn the lessons from that action, and then now make better decisions today through the lessons of tomorrow yesterday. So you make better decisions today through the lessons of yesterday, right? So um some of you have gone through our coaching, and then I've given you books to read, you've watched videos and all of that, and you find that your today, it's different because of those decisions to grow that you made yesterday. But you can't, because you saw results of yesterday today, decide to become complacent. So in your what next, you're making the decision to say, okay, this is the outcome that I've worked towards. How can I sustain it? How can I sustain it? So, what are some ways that you can live intentionally? Number one, set measurable goals. In fact, the way I put it is set smarter goals. Now, if you've been following the podcast in the last few months, I think in this month actually, you would realize that I talked about smarter goals a lot. I talked about goals, and I talked about making smarter goals. A lot of times we've become very married to very married to complacency, that we do not see the need to take the bulls by the horn and make decisions that will affect our outcomes in the future. So we're just living, trying to sweep through life, whatever will be, set measurable goals. So that's why your what is so important. In your through your what are you trying to achieve? You can now use your what to set goals, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, timely, evaluate, and review. If you're able to put these considerations into place, you'll find that you are constantly living in a cycle of growth. Remember that the growth mindset believes that everything is learnable, that you can improve, that there's always room for improvement. Somebody says the largest room in the world is the room for improvement. So set measurable goals. Set goals that will involve daily choices. And then with your goals, establish a routine. Most of the greatest people in the world that I've read their stories and have followed their life have one thing in common. And that thing that they have in common is their routines. Their routines are set in stones and rarely ever changed. Their routines are very clear, and they are very clear about it, and they are willing to work towards their routines. So for example, an Elon Musk wakes up at 4 a.m. daily and goes to bed at 9 a.m. daily, like clockwork. So these people have set in stone routines, things that they do when they wake up, things that they do before they go to bed. I believe I was reading Cindy Trim's book, and she talked about how an hour before bed she's not on her phone. She leaves her all her devices in her parlor, and then she goes to bed. So her room is a sanctuary. There are no phones in her room. There are nothing technology in her room, right? And then her room is just her safe space. And so she maintains it that an hour before she goes to bed, she sets everything down and she goes into the room. And for 1 hour, she's meditating and she's reflecting with no computers, no nothing to. So you have to be able to establish a routine. What do you do when you wake up? What's your morning like? What's your day can be unpredictable, your day can be changed, but you see your waking up routine and your routines before you go to bed, make them habitual, make yourself so predictable, so that people can be able to predict, oh, when she wakes up in the morning, this is the first thing that she does. When he wakes up in the morning, this is the first thing that he does. This is the last thing he does. I know people that ensure that they work out before they sleep. So they go through their day and then they work out for an hour, take a shower, and go to bed. That's their own routine. So establish a routine, a daily routine. Number three, strengthen your relationships. Like I said to you, achieving some of these things, you're going to need help to get it done. For example, getting a coach. Some of these things may involve making certain decisions that may not be convenient, making certain decisions that may not be comfortable, making certain decisions that you have to live with even if you don't like it. So you need to be able to strengthen your relationships, strengthen your support systems. So I'm about to make a certain decision in my life. I need to know who are the support systems that I need. And I need to begin to strengthen those alliances, strengthen those relationships. Because you're going to need them in the journey. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days where you're going to need to be picked up. You're going to have days where you're going to need to be cheered on. You're going to have days when you're going to be told to your face, girl, you're lazy. Like you need to have those days. So involve those in your life. Don't try to change in the absence of your support systems. It doesn't have to be like a general congregational thing where you announce it on your Facebook, I am going on a fitness journey to lose 30 pounds. No one needs to know all those details. Who needs to know those details? Your support systems. Okay, I want to do this and I'm going to need your help to achieve it. Part of their help to achieve it will be if they see you eating cake, they can take it from you. Part of their support could be you exercising and them joining you to exercise. Part of their support could mean buying healthy foods instead of unhealthy food. But that's going to work when you've communicated and strengthened those alliances. People are unable to help you when they've not been carried along from your plan from the beginning. I repeat it again. People are able to help you when they've been carried along. If they've not been carried along, then it's difficult to attain and access their help. Number five, learn to constantly declutter. Learn to constantly declutter. Our life is full of clutters. Everything trying to get your attention, everything trying to get you, everything trying to hold you down, everything, left, right, center, everything is coming at you. You need to be able to declutter. So you need to be able to say, okay, this is working, this is not working, this is why this is working, this is why this is not working. I need to let this go. I need to work better on this. You need to know. So I think in one of our coaching sessions, I've shared this with you guys, and I said, your life is structured into four categories. Number one is must do. These are things that you must do. They are do or die affairs. If you don't get them done, it can be the end of the world. Well, not really, but it will feel like it. Then the second part is should do. Your should do's are the ones that you should do them, but you don't really have to do them. You can delegate them. Those ones are delegatable tasks. They are important, but somebody else can get them done. Number three is want to do. I want to do this thing, but I don't have to be the one to do it. For example, I want to play the keyboard. I want to. But I'm at a place in my life where teaching me the keyboard will become a subtraction more than it is an addition. So, how do I cope with that? How do I cope with the fact that this decision, how do I cope with this decision that this particular action has a revolving and reflecting consequence? How do I cope with the decision that this is something that I need to do, this is where I need to do it, and this is something that I shouldn't be investing in right now? Because some of you are investing in things that you can pay people to do. Just like me saying I want to go and learn how to do my hair so that I can be able to do my hair by myself. That's a great plan. It's a great thought. But in the long term, it's not a sustainable thought. If I go now to start learning how to do my hair, there are things that I will neglect in the bid to achieve it. So what do I do? Go to a salon. Somebody is already skilled for this. Sit down and allow the person to do my hair. That's it. As difficult as it sounds, that is it. So you allow for people to be able to schedule your life, declutter your life. Okay, I don't need to be doing this. I can pay somebody to do it. I don't need to be doing this. I can get a coach to help me to do it. This is something that I really need to be able to do myself. I don't know how to do it, but I can get a coach to assist me to get it done. You see, you're organizing your life. You're organizing your life. And finally, pay attention to your time. Many of us just believe that this 24 hours is a really long time. 24 hours is not. And you don't have all the time in the world. So you must leave promptly. You don't have all the time in the world. Leave promptly. Whatever needs to be done, do it promptly. Do it quickly. Do it strategically. Don't just leave with, whenever I do it, I'll get it done. No. You won't just get it done. Learn to live intentionally, live consciously. Live consciously. Very, very important. Don't be careless about life. Be timely. So let's run through it again. Number one, make smarter goals or set measurable goals. Number two, establish a daily routine. Number three, strengthen your relationships and communicate with your support system. Number four, declutter. And number five, be time conscious. If you're able to get these five things in place, you will find yourself repeatedly making decisions that are worthy investments towards your future. If you're able to take these considerations into place, you will find yourself positioning yourself for better life outcomes. But it must first begin with you. It must first begin with you. It's something that you must do intentionally, something that you must do consciously. So I'm going to leave this video for you up. And what I want you to do is I want you to watch this video and walk through the things that are listed in this video. So for example, list out areas of your life where that you need to work on. Number 2, put it in priority. So everything that has been talked about, intentionally work around it. Because one of the things that we do a lot is that we gain a lot of knowledge, and because it's free, we feel like we don't need to apply it. But some of this knowledge that we get will literally reshape and change our lives. And don't forget to follow the King's Corner podcast so that you can get content like this at least twice a month outside of this hangout. So, does anyone have any questions so far? I'm going to give 1 minute for questions before I leave. Does anyone have questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so in the absence of questions, we're gonna come to the end of today. Send the link to your friend and let them join us and let them listen to this video and know how exactly they can apply and make their lives better. Till I come your way next time, remember your mindset is our business because we want you to always live your best life. Buy from us from now. But hey, ladies, watch out. The ladies only coaching program is about to resume again. So for those of you maybe that have gone through and feel like you need a refresher, it's coming bigger and better and so many amazing packages. So we'll be on the lookout for it because we're going to make some major announcements soon. All right. So have a good evening, everybody.